Selamat siang untuk semuanya. Today is last October Day, tahun 2019. This is Olga speaking from Vladivostok, city of international trade in the far east of Russia. I'm director of non-governmental legal entity, Center of Facilitation for Entrepreneurs, House of Indonesia. We are the one and only communication and organizational platform for Indonesian-Russian cooperation. Satu-satunya, yang full-fledged and works in make it happen mode. Today, I present you the answer to the question, what can be done for Indonesian goods flooded Russian market? Let's talk about the terms. Today, my Indonesian, let's say, friend and little bit colleague, his student who study in Far Eastern Federal University, he asked me, Ibu Olga, apa itu flooded? And I asked him, how you understand? He said, flooded ini kayak banjir ya? And I said, yes, benar. So when I said flooded Russian market, I mean banjir of Indonesian goods in Russian market. We were asked to answer this question by Ministry of Trade of Indonesia. As you know, the efforts of both government, Indonesia and Russia, are still far from effective. According to Kemendak statistic, tahun ini Indonesian export to Russia is less than even in previous year. That is why Kementerian Perdagangan sent delegation to Kota Vladivostok to hold a working meeting with House of Indonesia and find the answer to the question, what can be done for Indonesian goods flooded Russian market? The following presentation was prepared by House of Indonesia based on 10 years of Russian-Indonesian cooperation work of founders of organization and 4 years of House of Indonesia expert board work. Ya benar, starting from tahun 2015, so already 4 years. One day, inshallah, I will tell you more about people and story of House of Indonesia. So, apa yang bisa kita lakukan untuk produk Indonesia menguasai pasar Rusia? We will start from infrastructure. What I mean saying this? I mean that only the will of buyer and the will of seller to make the deal is not enough. While operating further, they need to use the services of many perusahaans. Today, there is a big gap between service companies in Russia and their colleagues in Indonesia. They are not connected to each other. That is why considering business opportunities with Indonesia is extraordinarily difficult for Russian entrepreneurs. The stories happened with other companies in work with Indonesia sometimes are scary. Here is interesting story in this picture. Orang Rusia mau buka toko to sell interior goods in one of Russian medium besar city. He came to Indonesia, found agent, and placed the order. All the money was paid to the agent for goods, for local handling in Semarang, and for logistic until St. Petersburg port. Agent made all possible and impossible mistakes in preparing the supply. In the worst case, Russian buyer can go to the prison. More really, his goods should be taken by custom for illegal actions. We know this case because this case was solved by House of Indonesia. Let's say when we say make it happen, we had to make happen this supply on minimum expense. Acting on the both sides, Indonesian and Russian, we redesigned the scheme. We reissued the documents, organized several special procedures in Russia, and managed to release the goods. Look at the ongkos. Numbers yang merah are fact. Yang hijau, maximum that can happen if supply is well organized. As you see, this businessman already paid twice price to have the goods in Russia. He still has to sell them with a margin. What next? Will he make the new supply? Let's see. This situation has to be balanced by organizing the connection between Russian and Indonesian logistic and custom clearance services companies. So, if you are the owner of such company, want to menjadi pendiri of First Indonesian Russian Complex Service Company, feel free to write me the letter. The next service seller and buyer will need is lawyers. It is the topic of our financial expert Pak Maxim. Inshallah, one day we will make video with detailed explanation with him. One mark I will do now. Contract and its absolute compliance is essential in Russia. Businessmen cannot be can be put in prison for violation of rules of foreign currency flow. To avoid such perspective, Russian buyer, from this example, paid and paid and paid for handling the case of Indonesian party default. Will they buy again? How to prevent such situation? Quite easy. Create Indonesian Russian Lawyers Bureau consisting of professionals from both sides, acting on both sides, to check due diligence, to negotiate, to prepare the contracts, to solve the cases, to support everyday operation of participants of Indonesian Russian cooperation. Please now look at this picture. These are photos of currency exchange rates from two banks of Vladivostok. They have even Thai baht, but there is no Indonesia here. I will not comment anymore. Except it's really very easy to organize cooperation between banks or to open cabang of Indonesian bank in Russia. And it can be really helpful for entrepreneurs on the both sides. As people who make the development of the territories used to say, make the road first. Today the roads of Russian money to Indonesia is off-road kind, with small capacity and difficulties to overcome on the way. Yeah, that's it about currency and banking. It's nightmare in Russia. Last in the list, but first of importance. I underline first of importance is marketing services. I will say a couple words about this. Waktu Majapahit Empire, the first model of cooperation between Bule and people of archipelago was created. In this model, the objective of, let's say, Indonesian party was create the goods, while objective of Bule was to make the rest, marketing, logistics, sales, and all that stuff. Colonial times made this even deeper. And the Indonesian side picture became like, oh, Bule earn big money on us because we have something very valuable. We give them opportunities and they have to be grateful for that. What they do to earn this money, we do not care. Sounds reasonable. But it correlates with the relation of Arang Archipelago with colonialists. And Russian people have nothing common with colonialism. We never ever had a colony. More than that, Indonesia became the country due to support of Uni Soviet. Russians are very different. Different, I mean, from European bully. We consider from the point, well, Indonesia wants to sell the goods in Russian market. We can help with our possibilities. What do you have? Why it is good for us? This position obliges the seller to care about marketing by themselves. By the way, about terms. When Indonesian people hear the word marketing, they can have the picture like this. Person with a catalog is visiting potential client and gets the percentage from sales. When here in Russia and sure in Europe, even in Europe more, maybe 1000% more, when we say marketing, we mean complex of work, starting from product creation, the idea, how we make it, how who will be the buyer, and everything about this, on cost, packaging, promotion, everything, and strategy to enter the market straightly with this product. So thousands of everything on the middle and finishing with promo events and the sales points. It's a huge amount of work. It can be done only, I will underline, only with participation of Russian specialists. And this work have to be completed before presenting the goods for the market. This means producers or sellers of goods have to hire Russians to make all work for prepare export to Russia. As a plan, I should prepare the video about all these procedures to show you how many have to care about. Ada lagi one point which I evaluate as important. Sopan. As I know from living in Indonesia, part of sopan is respect to sopan of other party. I can state both Russian and Indonesians violate this rule in most business communications. Russians know how they want and keep trying to explain for Indonesians their benefits to follow the vision of Russian side. Indonesians on the other side usually do not care about what Russians say because they are sure their way is better. And the only what they have to do is find someone who will be ready to follow their model and never mind apakah sukses atau tidak. Harus coba dulu. It's a good way. If siapa yang atur is the same yang bayar for trial. But Indonesians want Russian risks. They don't want to risk. Let's back to the example of Astra Auto Parts. Before we got such promisable suggestion, you can read it here, a realistic option to support us. I'm always thinking when Indonesian parties say to support us, and what about thinking how do you support us here? So Indonesian party thinks it is supported party. Why Indonesia always have to be supported? Indonesia can go by herself, by itself, like a country. Okay, this was lyric. Okay, Astra Auto Parts. Before we got such promisable suggestion from them, sell container, we pay you $2,000, we have had long correspondence initiated by Astra Auto Parts by them, with the assistance of Indonesian diplomats in Moscow. I explained maybe 3 times or even more in the letters the general situation on the market, usual actions that their competitors from Thailand and Japan make to have sales in Russia. What can be done? Done lagi-lagi. Never mind they want how they want. And here I have big question. What if such happen that products of Astra Auto Parts is not competitive in Russian market? We will work to find potential buyers, to make meetings and negotiations, to analyze the information, to make big correspondence, to find out details, and after that suddenly the answer of Russian buyer, we calculated all, we are not interesting. Who will pay for the work done? That's why percentage scheme works in one from 100 or even 1000 cases. A worst case is default. Who wants to spend the time of his life supporting Astra Auto Parts without guarantee to have the reward? The other picture of real suggestion, this picture, is real suggestion for us to buy Indonesian goods and to sell on the Russian market. They do not respect us. But it's no problem, because showing this photo as an example of their export goods means they do not respect themselves also. I have 2 souvenir becak. I got them as a present from Indonesian parties. Dan saya sulit bisa explain my feelings about becak as a gift. Each gift has the sense, like hearty. Apa itu artinya becak? Di mana maksudnya tempat saya? Tempat saya di mana? Di sini? Atau as a passenger? Gini, sini saya. Duduk dulu, ibu. Both roles in my Russian mentality are not which I want to play. Sorry. This is my notes. So, what I want to say exactly. Like, resuming. Russians are different from colonialists. We will not do your job. We believe producer and seller have to care about development of business on their own expense. Localization of product must be done. Marketing strategy must be done. Marketing budget is the first to care about when want to enter Russian market. Strategi harus coba, bisa jadi efektif if this trial is paid by seller. But this is again marketing budget. Now we've done with infrastructure. Maybe you already capek, bingung, kepalanya sakit. Saya juga sudah lama. More than 10 years working with Indonesia makes you aneh and wonderful. Like wonderful Indonesia. So let's now look at the picture of Indonesia in the kepala of most Russians. Here it is. You can see Bali first, Aborigines dancing, Komodo, and thousands of nice, cute, colorful souvenirs. Cooperation of what kind Russian businessman can consider looking on this exotic environment, observing this environment in his head. I want to show you the other picture of Indonesia. The picture that I have in my mind. Here it is. Looking at this picture, imagine you are a Russian businessman. Just imagine, try to. While you imagine this, feel proud of your country. You can feel here, again, you are a Russian businessman. You can feel here the story of empire. Exquisite, sophisticated objects, impressing architecture, and let's say in generally, exquisite prosperity. Would you like to join? Sure. So, brand Bali, brand wonderful Indonesia, brand exotic islands have to be mixed carefully with brands empire, trade empire, exquisite, Majapahit lifestyle, natural products, dan lagi-lagi. This is also in some kind product localization. So we, let's say, packaging the brand, packaging the sense of Indonesia in one big something beautiful and very attractive. The reality is Indonesian products cannot compete by price on Russian market. China always will win. Indonesia has to create the reputation which allows Indonesian businessmen to sell on high price. Russians have to be ready to pay expensive because of something. For example, we are ready to pay expensive for Japan goods. There is an example. Japanese instant noodles are good going in Vladivostok on the price 4 times higher than most cheap one and 2 times higher than Korean one. Big job has to be done to present renovated image of Indonesia to Russia. It is current task to destroy mental stereotypes and change it with carefully, professionally prepared picture. Once the new picture is ready, it has to be broadcasted in the media. And maybe it's quite good that now information field, terminology. When we say this term, when in Russia we say this term, information field, we mean like, just imagine the space, the atmosphere, and in this space, information circulate between countries and between people in these countries. So we say this field is almost empty. It's almost empty. As you can see from this picture, in Russian website, which broadcasts foreign media, in Russian translation, there are only 2 articles, so this one and this one, reminding about Indonesia in this year. And also you can see which media provide Russians information about Indonesia. Wall Street Journal, Bravo, Der Spiegel, Super, Le Monde, oh, why not? Even Online Focus, Daily Beast, and Frankfurter Rundschau. I even cannot baca this one. It looks like information blockade made by American lobby or European lobby. The other alternative explanation is can be only carelessness of Indonesian party. Quite unpleasant to think about this in this case. Better we look now at how other Asian countries are acting in the far east of Russia. Mana itu? Oh, here. This is also a print screen of some articles from Far Eastern media. You can see the process of making social connections. So athletes from Russia and China will fight for the Asian Cup in Vladivostok. Interesting, right? Club at the Japanese center of Vladivostok exists for 23 years. Just imagine 23 years they are working to make mind setting, to sell, to make connections. Interesting, Vladivostok hosts Korean Film Festival. Korea is going very well, very systematic people. And the most interesting, North Korea. North Korea is active. At government invitation, delegation from Vladivostok is sent to Pyongyang to study export opportunities of North Korea. The delegation includes representatives of creative professions, journalists, public figures of Primorsky territory. In Vladivostok, there are diplomatic representatives from more than 20 countries. And they are doing their best to make Russian-Thailand, Russian-Japanese, Russian-Korean relations to develop. They follow up. They have legal entities, programs, they work every day, and you can see the result by your eyes. Each of these social activities you can see here is paid from, let's say, national budgets. Never mind how from budget national they go to the legal entity in Russia, but this is still governmental support. Today, the leaders in Russian market, who? Which countries? China, Korea. China because cheap and because they are very active. Korea, Japan, India, then Thailand, Vietnam, others. All these countries entered Russia through eastern gates. Vladivostok. Indonesia can consider best world practices, why not? And if such happen, or when such happen, how can promotion look like? Trade fairs. I think it's very cocok for Indonesian mentality. These are two articles from Vladivostok media. In red rectangles you can see, you can read the citation. I choose to show you India case because they do it regularly. So each 3 months or 6 months we have Indian trade fair. Everybody, let's say, is waiting for it, excited about this. So it's interesting, gembira, gitu. And North Korea case is a case of super luar biasa. Just recognize, even Korea Utara already made trade fair in Vladivostok. How comes Indonesia bloom? Internet showcase then. I know it is big issue for Indonesia. If we go to Kemendag website, they have it showcase. The only thing it's almost empty. From the other way, it is said each Indonesian embassy has to create internet showcase sesuai untuk pasar country of it is located in. It's again localization of the product. What and how you show in Germany differs from what you show in Russia. We cannot say all the countries have good showcases in internet, but we can state that the best and complete is by Korea. And Korea has super strong position in FMCG trade in Russia. And in investment juga, but it's the topic for another talk. Phenomenal. Laris Mani's sales of Korean cosmetic in Russia is very well organized by Kotra. It is good example of effectiveness of good strategy and systematic work. Another working instrument, B2B. Where is our B2B? Oh, in India. It's everyday life in Vladivostok. B2B events are going, let's say, always. It's absolute miracle happened in 2017. Embassy entrusted House of Indonesia to organize Indonesian Russian Forum. It was boutique event. We do not go deeper to the details of this event. It's aneh, interesting, tapi bagusnya. But from this small event, small event, Indonesia has one longitude contract. I myself conducted the initial negotiations of the parties and supported until first supply. Now embassy can show Bali high beer distribution in supermarkets of Russia from Vladivostok to Moscow. CCI Jakarta signed 2 agreements with the CCI Primorsky and CCI Far East. We organize and prepare these agreements. Kasihan tapi follow-up-nya kosong. The question that I'm trying to find the answer for is why they do not repeat. General legend is there is no money, boo. But to have the money, you have to invest the money. As our financial expert Maxim explains, we always have the results is why our investments. If we want money, we have to invest money. If we invest culture, we will have culture. We cannot get money investing in culture. but there is no money. Delegation of Kemendak on our working meeting in Vladivostok, I mentioned it in the beginning. This is, we are looking the materials prepared for this meeting. So Kemendak made generally two input. Two. The first one is government has to support House of Indonesia. And the second one, Ministry of Trade do not have money to support House of Indonesia. It's like closed circle. It has to be overcome in any way. I don't know how. It's the task of Indonesian party. Now I will read this part of media publication. I will do it slowly. Please read it with me and deeply percept. Let's underline. Moment. Okay, baca dulu. We invite entrepreneurs of Primorsky territory to take part in the Russian-Indian Forum in B2B format held on Ruski Island. Organizer is Department of International Cooperation of Primorsky Territory. The forum will bring together 135 Indian companies. Okay, underline now. Forum on B2B format. So no show up, just business. Indian going just business, no show up. I think you know about this better than me. Forum is on Ruski Island. It's cool. So the level is good. If you don't know why it's cool to be on Ruski Island, Google aja, you will understand. 135 companies. Evaluate the scale. Organizers, government of the region. Evaluate status. Now comments, let's go further. Let's go further and look at the areas which India suggests Russia to cooperate in. Wood processing, 1, that Indonesia. Professional in. Timber and plywood, 2. Mining industry, I think so. Metals, metallurgy, I don't know actually, tapi mungkin bisa. Harus coba. Oil and gas, bisa. Power industry, I don't know. Chemical industry, maybe. Ceramic industry, yes. Construction infrastructure, I don't know. Information and communication technology, IT. Indonesia bisa IT? Saya pikir ya. Tourism. Health and pharmaceuticals, yes. 3 times yes. Food, 5 times yes. Agriculture and food industry, 10 times yes. Filling production, I think so. Textiles, yes. Gems and jewelry, yes. Vocational training, yes. Human resources, sure. Finance, I don't know, the property, yes. Evaluate the scale of potential Indonesian-Russian cooperation formulated by India. Okay, again, no comments. Let's go further. The last and the main is accessibility. We, House of Indonesia, working on our own expense by a small team of people. Not working, used to work on our own expense by a small team of people who believe in Indonesian possibilities. Why I say used to work? Because we are already very tired and now prefer to work for the money. Never mind for business or governmental structures, and the volume of results now depends on budget which beneficiary is ready to provide. Will Ministry of Trade of Indonesia find the budget to ensure accessibility for Indonesia to Russian market and to the other way? Who knows? Nobody knows. Okay, let's look at the whole picture that we have discussed. Let's look together. So beautiful and shine picture. Well, I will finish with my favorite. Decide what you want. Come to us. We can make it happen in all the fields of Russian-Indonesian relations. This was Olga with you. Sincerely yours. Salam hormat dari Vladivostok.